You think you're alive, but you're in Plato's cave, bound and shackled, a corporate slave. Work your day for a worthless wage, buy things you don't need to decorate your cage. Or break your chains, take up the fight, let yourself be blinded by the light. Ascend with me to see the sun, so I don't need to be the only one. My name is Harley Neville. Welcome along to the Guy and Harley podcast.
And I'm Guy Pigton. How was the fight today? What did you do today to take up the fight?
I'm doing an explosive podcast in which I tell people to, I don't know.
Do as I say, not as I do.
It's a mental thing, actually. Taking up the fight. It's merely a mentality.
It's a mindset. Really.
It's a mindset.
It doesn't require any action.
No, it's a mindset. Taking up the fight. Yeah, no, it is though. It is though. It's like the blue pill, red pill situation. You've got you're going to take up the fight. That means having the red pill.
Welcome along to the show. I'm just trying to listen in to make sure we're all sounding good. I'm just going to listen to myself here. Sounds good, actually.
I love it when you do this because I have to edit it out. The show starts and then you do your tech checks.
That's good. Sounded good.
And then I have to edit it out. Fortunately, I'm going to leave a lovely little gap right here.
Bevan on the live stream says, please entertain me because he's bored.
Well,
he's on lockdown like the rest of us.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, mate. We'd love to help you, but we have nothing to talk about because we've been locked down for as long as you have.
18 new cases today.
Not bad. It's not our best. It's not our worst.
I think the problem with all these, because the cases are kind of, they really don't, like, you keep imagining it's going to go to like 3 cases today or something, or today 2 cases. Like it kind of dips and then it goes back up, and then it dips and then it goes back up. But the issue,
it's a roller COVID.
This is the first podcast we've done at level 3.
Yeah,
I believe
it is a new level 3 show.
And level 3, for those of you that don't know, essentially means a relaxation of some of the rules. We don't all have to stay at our home anymore. Well, we're still meant to.
Yeah.
But we can also, more people can go to work. Places like restaurants and stuff can do contactless pickup and delivery, all that sort of thing. But I was a little disheartened by the explosion of people and cars and things happening on the first day of level 3. And
it's meant to be level 4 with KFC and coffee takeaway. But that's what it's meant to be.
But it's kind of more like people do definitely appear to be treating it like it's level 1.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, more like level 2. I think it's like a level 2 vibe.
Freedoms, but I just think
there's just less businesses open, basically, but everyone's still going everywhere.
You can't walk into a store still. That's really the difference. Everyone's driving about, everyone's doing things, but we can't walk into stores.
But we're not supposed to be driving about.
We have to queue up outside a store.
Now, I went undercover the other day in order to catch some people violating COVID rules. And in order to maintain my cover, so
you had to break those rules as well.
Well, it's like Judge Dredd, and so I what I did was I wanted to see if there was any people playing tennis at the tennis courts. So I went deep undercover. I got some tennis rackets. I went to the tennis court and
played tennis.
Was horrified to see that all of the courts were taken
really
by these lawbreakers. Those scallywags, these scoundrels out there flaunting the rules. I was obviously just there in deep undercover.
So you went there undercover. You had the rackets and everything. You had tennis balls. You even had a tennis partner.
Yeah.
To maintain the illusion.
Yeah.
for this undercover
Exactly.
job.
Yeah.
Did you go up to any of these rule breakers and like pitch a little fit?
No. Actually, it was a bit like Rafael Nadal, is it? When he gets angry.
Rafa, yeah.
When he gets angry and smashes his rackets.
Yeah.
That's
Those
what it
were
was
my
like.
rackets.
That's what it was like.
Those were my rackets.
I
that you
smashed them on
smashed.
the ground.
those rackets that I lent you the other day.
Yeah. I smashed them on the ground and I screamed at them all.
Yeah.
And then I went and played handball instead.
Right.
It was good. Handball, the old schoolyard game. Playing against someone who's never played before.
Which is always good because you can defeat them easily and seem like a big shot, makes you feel like a big man.
Well, it did make me feel like a big man.
Fuels your ego.
Yeah. I taught
picking apart a helpless victim.
I taught all of my tricks though: the underleg, the backside underleg, the double jump pass, and hit it behind your back. Low down scundering, a bit of scundering down the bottom.
To be honest, there is not a game that could be, I mean, I'm sure there is, but there's not many games that could be worse for your back than handball.
No, well, actually, it didn't feel too bad. The next day,
I was
a bit too stiff, but I was a little stiff the next day. But I feel stiff after going skateboarding too in my back.
That's also not good for your back.
Well, that jumping around.
Really bad for your back.
You reckon? I reckon that it's good to strengthen up those muscles again.
Playing handball is definitely not good for your back.
It didn't feel too bad. And the next day I was a bit stiff, but not too bad. Not too bad.
And skateboarding also is, I mean, notoriously a common skateboarding injury is herniated discs.
Is it?
Yeah,
this is news to me. The skate expert over here. I've never heard of it.
Well, you haven't heard of many pro skaters that have had herniated discs. It's fucking heaps of them.
Well, you're probably right. I mean, I'm not denying it. It'd be very easy to hurt your back skateboarding.
I mean, I threw out my back skateboarding and at 16, so it can't.
You gave it away after that.
I did. I was like, this is fucking stupid.
I was like, oh, what's going on? What's up with the skating? And I remember you had started going to the gym, and you were like, well, I've given up on the skating because we all skated together. And you were like, I've given up on the skating, and you're like, because you've been getting all swole at the gym, you're like,
I'm a professional wrestler now.
No, you're like, the bigger you are, the harder you fall.
It's true.
And so he was just focusing on getting swole.
It's true.
Yeah.
All of that is accurate information, I sort of made a choice too at that time. I was like, I can keep doing this thing that I'm not very good at.
He wasn't the greatest.
He
was probably the third best out of the three of me, Nick, and you.
Three.
Of three,
the
last.
last.
And Nico too, actually. So you were the fourth.
Yeah. So
there were some people that were probably a little worse than you.
There was definitely people worse within the circles
circle
that we travelled.
You certainly didn't excel. I wouldn't say you excelled.
No, but it was like
it was still fun though.
Yeah, but it's like I can keep doing something that I'm not very good at and have no sort of aptitude for. Or I can do things that I'm actually good at, like such as play hockey, and potentially excel at that.
Now there's something that's bad for your back.
And that is terrible.
The
hockey
crouching.
is absolutely terrible for your back as well.
Yeah.
But that was the choice I made, so here we are. You can play tennis at level 3. Bevan says.
Shout out to Bevan Reed on the live stream. So he says. I mean, that seems like you wouldn't be allowed to play tennis. But they did say that they'd caught that the police had to break up a 32-man game of touch rugby the other day. It's called social distancing, guys. Touching is the opposite of what's good.
I think
no touching, especially not 32 men at the same time.
My whole issue with this level 3 is just how easily this can spread.
Yeah.
So it feels like level 3 may as well be level 1.
Yeah.
With
COVID.
Delta.
Yeah. With COVID.
With Delta go
Yeah.
The precautions we put in place at level 3. I mean, yes, of course they're going to be more effective, but it's one of those numbnuts in that rugby game.
Yeah.
That just has a mild case of Delta.
Yeah.
Has just spread it exponentially through that group of people and out into the thing, and lots of them are like, so they've got all these reports every day. It's been epidemiologically linked.
Epidermologically linked.
Epidermologically linked.
You can tell which one of us is the rapper.
Epidermologically linked, right? And they're always like 17 of these 18 cases. 13 of these 17 cases. It's always like, they're never like, it's been 18 of 18 cases have been
Epidermologically
linked, which means essentially they can link it back to, okay, like you caught it off someone else and so on. So it's like, to me, I'm always worried about those 2 or 3 left over at the end of each report that haven't been linked. And it's like, well, okay, if they haven't been linked,
where'd it come from?
where did it come from?
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is it? Where's the source? And so, yeah, that's always my concern. And obviously lots of those links do come, they figure out those links a bit later on. So it's not to, but there's definitely questions. So, but we are 82% vaccinated.
No, we're not. We're like 49% vaccinated or something.
We're 82% vaccinated in Auckland.
Oh, in Auckland?
Yeah.
I think in New Zealand we're like 41 or 49 or something.
Well, yeah.
I could be wrong.
I can't speak to the rest of the country, but...
Where it doesn't matter.
Because they're not important. They're not on level 3.
No. Yeah.
So, that's good for us. Yeah, that's a good result.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not too bad. I don't know what we're going to do.
Well, some people are saying the government are giving up on the total elimination strategy.
Yeah.
Because it's just dragging on. It's not being eliminated.
But it's still totally worth it at the moment. It's literally in one city. The whole country is fine except for one city where we got fucking 10 to 15 cases.
Bad egg.
10 to 20 cases a day, in one city. And it's like, cool, well, I'm sorry, Auckland, harden the fuck up. We're going to have to do this for a wee while until we learn how to play nice and get it done. So just stay the fuck home. Fucking idiots. Like, it doesn't make sense to just go, all right, cool, we're just going to open up Auckland. We're just going to let it get out everywhere. No. Tell you what, though. Here's a movie idea or a terrorist idea. You deliberately spread it around the country because you are a right-winger who's sick of all this shit and who goes, look, we've just got to get it all around so it's out of control, and then, basically New Zealand will have to deal with it in the same way that the UK and USA and all those places have just kind of opened up and sort of dealt with it, and lived with it, rather. Given up and lived with it. So some terrorist will be like, cool, I'm just going to spread it around and then we have to give up. And then we can get on with our lives. Now, the get on with our lives thing is not true.
No. It's
going to be way worse, and I don't want Delta, and a bunch of people will die.
Well, also what they've said is that, obviously at a certain point, we're going to open things up and do all the things, and we want to get a certain vaccination rate before that happens. And that's all well and good. But even with the vaccination rate and opening things up, essentially what they're talking about, this is the specialists, is that every now and again, a area will have to go into lockdown with everyone vaccinated and everything to contain the spread and overwhelming of the hospitals, when we get a spike in cases. So, it's not that when we open up, it's like just back to normal, except like a whole bunch of people are dying of COVID here and there. That's not the case. It's that we open up, a whole bunch of people do die of COVID, and also we still go into the occasional lockdown here and there when the deaths get too much for the hospitals. And I know it's everyone goes, oh, this is ridiculous. How could they be overwhelmed? The hospital, blah blah blah. And it's like, the problem is, or part of the problem is that New Zealand does not have a good, it does not have as big a hospitals with as many resources as many of the other well-developed countries that we're sort of being compared to, such as, America and the UK and wherever else, is that we actually have very limited number of ICU beds, and stuff like that. Therefore, when we get it takes very little to overwhelm our sort of system. And there was another article about how it's actually quite then the next conversation as well, spend a whole bunch of money on getting new hospital beds and all that sort of thing. But apparently it's not quite as simple as like paying for additional space, because you also need additional staff. And as we all know, that especially
there's already a shortage.
Yeah, there's a shortage.
Yeah.
Of people. That are what's the word I'm looking for? Have the ability to
Skilled.
Yeah, have the skills, have the qualifications to
Qualified.
Qualified to do this this job, and these ICU jobs and the ventilation and all that sort of thing. So, it's, as they say, it's not that simple.
Well, nothing is. Nothing is. And then I feel like there's lots of people out there that are sort of, they blame the government for what is essentially the pandemic's fault.
Right-wing Richard.
Right-wing Richard. They
Take a bow.
They blame the government for what is essentially...
Put your hand up, right-wing Richard.
Essentially the pandemic's fault. It's like... fucking Jacinda, these lockdowns are destroying the economy. And it's like, okay, cool, but it's not Jacinda, it's the frickin' pandemic. Jacinda doesn't want the lockdown.
No one wants to go into lockdown.
Nobody wants COVID. Nobody wants the lockdown.
The government doesn't want to be paying out billions of dollars in wage subsidies and, dipping into the treasury, and crippling they don't want any of that either.
Yeah,
they're definitely not fans of that. That's not a thing that they're like, yeah, sweet.
You know what people should be saying? They should be saying, damn this pandemic and damn the vicissitudes of life, because this is really unfortunate. But I'm glad that we've got a competent government who has successfully minimized the damage caused by this invisible enemy that we're all learning about at the same time. I'm so glad to live in this blessed place.
Oh, that's a fair statement to make, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people who are misdirecting their anger. They're misdirecting it from the pandemic, which we all hate, and finding someone to blame. And they go, well, the obvious person to blame is the person in charge,
Everybody wants someone to blame.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where we're at. So we're at level 3. Level 3 being treated almost as a level 1.
Yeah.
But I'm treating it as a level 3.
I'm treating it as level 3. I haven't really been anywhere. But the thing is, I've got no choice because I've got no work in level 3 apart from things I'm doing from home anyway. So what are you going to do? Like, go out when you've got work to do at home?
Yeah.
Where am I going to go? Few people to shout out on the live stream. If you're listening at home later to the edited version, do swing by sometime and check out the live stream. We'd love to hear from you directly. We've got Violetta on the live stream. Cheers, guys. Positive vibes.
Positive vibes only here.
Yep. Cheers to Violetta. Violetta is also my flatmate.
Yep.
So shout out to Violetta. Violetta has, you'll be excited to hear, Guy, has just gotten a piano. She's just ordered a piano. So you'll be...
We did hear that story.
You'll be hearing some piano practice through the wall.
I'm a little concerned.
I'll be hearing it through my wall too, even closer.
Concerned.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. There's 2 potential places in the flat it can be put, and they're both kind of equally the same distance from me. But one of them has a door which seals closed, and one of them has a sliding door which doesn't really seal closed. So we're starting with the lounge because it's going to be aesthetically quite pleasing, and it's going to sit there and see how it sounds, and then we have the option to put it behind the potentially sealing door if it's like really loud, I guess. But I think to be honest, I think it'll be kind of nice to have a artistic, creative vibe around the flat. I think it'll be pretty cool, and hopefully it can inspire me. And I was actually thinking that maybe Violetta and I could start a classical piano rap group where she plays classical piano and I rap, and we YouTube it. I'm
sure she'll be interested in doing that.
Yeah, well, she might be. She might be. Speaking of rap, that was my poem that I said at the top of the show, and Plato's Cave, and that it brings me to the fact that I am now a rapper again. I have been writing and practicing a new rap for a new Hamish Gavin track. I'm not sure what his stage name is nowadays. HGH was you, me, and Hamish rapping. He also has Posse in Effect, but I don't know if this is a Posse in Effect thing or it's just a Hamish Gavin thing. But either way, I've got a guest verse on it, assuming, of course, that he actually likes it. He might be like, this sucks. I don't want to work with it. Sorry, it's not going to be on the track. You're not going on the album. But I think I'm going to be on the album anyway from one of my other raps with him. So, but he wants to release his album soon. Hamish Gavin. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'm going to be on it, hopefully.
Bevan says that we're 23rd, or is that 33rd?
30. I thought it said 33rd.
33rd in the world for ICU beds per capita.
Is that good or bad? I mean, there's
that's bad.
Well, isn't there like a couple of hundred countries in the world? Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's not. New Zealand likes to be 200
and something countries in the world.
New Zealand is pretty much number 1 and number 2 in like everything. Suicide. Children in poverty, these types of things. So 33, not too great.
No.
Yeah, we can do better.
Well, we may have to. So what else is on the agenda?
Nobody really seems to give a shit about all of this. There was also a horrible murder recently.
Do tell.
What, you didn't hear about this?
Was that the old guy that was murdered?
No, so there was a young lady in her 20s who was walking in a very popular park in a rich suburb here in Auckland, Mount Albert, and she went into the road. It is just down the road. She went into the park, and it's in the morning for her morning walk around 7 a.m. and a gentleman followed her in and attacked her. This is all over the news. He sexually assaulted her and he murdered her. And she was semi-blind. She was like 1 meter and a little bit tall, and she had Down syndrome. And by all accounts, she was much loved. Lena, her name is. And so this guy went and did that just up the road from us, really, and it's pretty horrible. But the good news is they did catch him like the next night or the night after because they had great CCTV footage of his face. We had a mask on, but of him from somebody's yard because somebody obviously has a camera outside their house where you can see part of the street. And so there's CCTV footage of both of them, which just goes to show that everywhere you walk is being tracked. The system is very much keeping an eye on you because these two people were just walking up a suburban street into a park, and both of them, there's footage of both of them, two separate cameras of both of them. So Big Brother is watching, and Big Brother will catch you if you're a rapist and a murderer. What an idiot, this person, to destroy a life for a little 2-minute thrill and to destroy his own life as well. What an idiot. So it's a very sad episode of Who's Dead this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure where we go from there.
Yeah, well, look, back to level 3. I am hoping to be gallivanting around the country. So level 3, theoretically, if all going well, if all these buffoons stop playing touch rugby, they will go from level 3, hopefully we'll go to level 2 on October 5th. Now, the film festival I work for, Show Me Shorts Film Festival, New Zealand's biggest and best short film festival.
Which my film did not get into.
It did not get into the biggest and best short film festival. The competition is very stiff.
It's rejected.
There's a lot of... But you have been in there in the past. That's actually how I got this job. I got this job because No Caller ID was accepted into Show Me Shorts.
And a conversation was begun.
Exactly. And then I was approached by the festival director and asked if I'd be interested in a job like this. And it's the rest is history. I'm very lucky, very lucky. It's a great opportunity provided to me by No Caller ID. And so anyway, Show Me Shorts kicks off in less than 2 weeks. I'm the event manager, so I organise the events and make sure that people are happy and their films are playing and they know where to be when, and there's wine and run sheets and volunteers and bookings and flights and all of these things. And so theoretically, I'm going away, coming and going for a good 2-week kind of adventure, gallivanting around the country, Christchurch and Wellington several times in order for these events. However, That starts on October 7th. The Show Me Shorts Christchurch opening night is on October 7th, and the Wellington opening night is on October 8th. And level 3, theoretically, if we pull this off, we go down to level 2 on October 5th. Now, the problem, there's two potential problems.
There's a lot of problems.
Let's assume that we do go to level 2. What happens if Wellington goes to level 1 at the same time? What if they go, cool, well, the rest of the country can go to level 1, and Auckland, you've got to stay at level 2. Can I leave Auckland or not? Because if I can't leave Auckland, then all these events are going to have to happen without me. And if these events happen without me, then it's going to be extremely obvious that they don't need me at all. You know?
It's going to be revealed.
It's going to be revealed that I'm a complete waste of resources.
Yeah.
No, I'll be orchestrating it from afar though. Still, you know, all of those bookings had to happen somehow. But I won't be able to attend and introduce it and meet the filmmakers and, you know, have a fun time and travel around. And it's obviously I'm looking forward to it because it's another great adventure that I get to enjoy. And so yeah, we'll see how that goes. We'll let the listeners know on the podcast whether or not I get to go or not. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because
because if it's level 3, then
if I was a betting man, I would say there is absolutely no chance that you will be going.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Yeah.
It is not even a question that should be posed on the podcast because it is not happening. If that's where I'm at with if like now we did bet and Richard was right wing Richard was right. We said it was going to be level 4 for like extended for another week, but in fact we went to level 3. Right. Now, we're taking another bet here, you know, that will
Wait, what did Richard say?
He said that we'd go to level 3 because people had COVID fatigue.
Yeah.
And we said, no chance. We're staying on level 4. He was right. We were wrong. So now we're taking bets. I'm pitching for level 3 for at least another week.
Yeah.
And you haven't actually said whether or not you think we'll go to level 2, but I'm saying no chance of level 2, no chance you're going anywhere.
Well, when we first set these dates, I was like, look, it could happen, but October 5th is quite far away, and I'm a really lucky guy, just a lucky dude. Shit just works out for me. Just coast on through and shit works out. General rule, but, you know, lucky guy. So I was like, it'll definitely go down to level 2 on October 5th, and she'll be right as rain, mate. But then I see all of this nonsense out on the street, and these bloody touch rugby players touching each other.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so many anti-maskers. And when I say anti-maskers, I don't mean vocal anti-maskers. I just mean like you see like a middle-aged couple walking down the street in our swanky neighborhood and they're not wearing a mask. And it's like, well, I'm wearing a mask. Why aren't you wearing a mask? Fuck me, right? Like, I'll look after you, but don't you look after me, cunt. You know, like what's up with these anti-maskers?
What's your opinion on this? When you go out to get some fresh air,
Yeah.
right? Where do you stand on wearing a mask?
I think you should wear it, but if there's nobody around you, you just take it down. So if you're walking along the street and there's nobody around, take it off, no problem. When you see somebody coming, out of respect,
mask goes on.
Mask goes on.
Okay, let me pose
social
another question.
distance.
If you're a runner, is there more impetus to wear a mask?
Well, there should be,
it's
right?
harder breathing.
It is harder breathing, but you are breathing all over everyone.
Yep.
So you being a runner is kind of not my problem, but you're making it my problem.
Yep.
That being said, I do feel like if I went for a run, I would not be able to run with it over my face. I just wouldn't enjoy it. I can barely run as it is, you know, let alone with a bloody sweaty, humid mask, you know, cupping my face like a sweaty set of balls resting on my nose and mouth. You know, that's not on. I don't want to run like that. So what do you do? I mean, I don't run. It's not really a question for me. I only run when people are chasing me.
People should stay out of your way if you're running.
Right.
Someone says on the live stream.
Yeah.
No, runners should stay the fuck out the way with their mask on.
Well, they're also more nimble. Runners are more nimble. You nimble runners out there run around all the people. You know.
Now, so because I go for runs and I've been going for a run with my mask on.
Yeah.
And I've had my mask on the whole time, but sometimes I do pull it down.
Yeah, if there's nobody
to
around.
gasp some air because it's fucking the balls
Stifling.
on my face are smothering me.
Yeah.
And really, you know, I'm really struggling. So, you know, Just take a breath, but then if there's anyone around, mask goes on. That's the way I do it. But I see a lot of runners out, and they're just running happy as fucking Larry.
Yeah.
And they do divert.
Yeah, well, that's,
They do divert.
Thank you.
But to me, the way that Delta works, you can still come into the slipstream.
Exactly.
So he's been breathing hard.
Yeah.
Breathing hard. He diverts out your way, and then you walk into all
through.
his previous breath,
Yeah.
he, she, previous breath,
Yeah.
before the diversion.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a little disrespectful.
Well, I agree. Look, I don't really see why you wouldn't be able to go running with a mask, like, you know, that you kind of pull down a little, and you can run. Because when you're running and there's nobody around, you said you pull yours down.
Yeah.
You just pull it down and leave it down, or do you pull it down, take it off, put it in your pocket, and then keep running?
I just pull it over.
Right. So you can run with it like that. So what do? You go for a run. Hey, somebody's coming. I'm going to go around them and pop my mask up out of respect. You know, I mean, it's a bit like doffing your hat in the old days.
It
You know,
is.
you just doff your hat to a passerby. You know, and out of respect, what you do is you fucking doff your mask. You don your mask. You don your mask
You
out
doff
of
your
respect,
hat.
and you doff your hat. Don your mask and doff your hat. There's the name of the episode. Don your mask and doff your hat on your way past. You fucking selfish bloody runners.
Yeah, no, but
Not all of them.
I've been a little disappointed by some people's behavior.
You goddamn runners. You stinking no good runners.
Yeah, so that's what I think too. But it just has not been adhered to. And then I don't know, even when I see people walking about like, you know, a group of 4 people. So they're walking, you know,
They're spread out.
4 abreast.
Yeah. Like Friends. It's like or the beginning of well, I don't know if Friends actually do that at any point, but you know, 4 people walking
Slow
side by
motion
side
walk
towards
toward
the camera. Yeah.
So they're walking towards camera, and or me, I'm the camera.
Yeah.
And they're kind of all there with masks off, and it's like, just I'd feel better if you guys had your masks on, because
Yeah.
you've created a COVID stream here. That sure, you're gonna move out the way, but I've still got to go through this wall of COVID.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
No. Well, I don't like it either.
So
The bit that bothers
if
me,
you listen to the podcast,
if all you dickheads out there, or if there's any anti-maskers out there, we just want to know. We want you to know. We think you're rude. Even if it's not about the virus, it's about common fucking civility to your fellow citizens and residents and guests.
also the thing about running with a mask, that's actually very good training. Yeah, it's uncomfortable.
Less
and
oxygen. That's why you go
and
up to
it's
the
uncomfortable,
Himalayas and train.
and it feels like you have sweaty balls on your face, but it's also like essentially training like, you know, Goku did in his hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah, high altitude training.
Up in the space, you know, it's
Yeah.
the same thing. So it's actually good for to become a better runner.
Mm.
So, you know, why do we need this no mask thing?
Yeah.
I'm just a bit frustrated.
Get out of the way. Stop dragging your bloody COVID dragnet, trawling along 4 people wide, you know, and then making other people walk between you or around you or through your slipstream.
What about these kids?
Here's the big
The
problem.
little kids running about.
Oh, yeah, the kids. The thing is, look, at the end of the day, everything we do for
COVID kids.
everything we do for COVID is only a precaution. Or you can do all of them and still catch COVID.
Yeah.
You know, it's only a precaution, but it does stop you, you know, give you a better chance, right? And at the end of the day, we as a community, you go, oh, cool, well, okay, we're going to limit the amount of people in a restaurant. Why? Well, because it reduces the chance of getting COVID. And people go, yeah, but you're in the restaurant, so you might get the COVID. And it's like, yes, but there's less people in the restaurant, so there's less chance that they're going to get the COVID. And if they do get it, there's going to be less people with it. They're not going to spread it as much. Yeah, you know, and like it's very frustrating to listen to. Where was I going with that?
Well, just probably just complaining about COVID, really, or people that are not adhering.
Yeah. Well, the big thing really is that why is it such a big sacrifice? Why can't you just get the jab, wear a mask, you know, keep distant, follow the rules, and we'll all get through this? You know, like how we got through World War II.
Keep calm and carry on.
Keep calm and carry on. Exactly. Like we got through World War II and everything else. You know, we worked together as a team. The big problem is we've become so free. Our Western societies have become so free over the last X amount of years that we've forgotten that we're part of a system still that needs to be able to maintain itself. And if we don't work together, we can't maintain the system.
Yeah, and too many movies about being free and freedoms.
Yeah.
Have encouraged people to think they're in a fucking movie.
Yeah.
You know, they're part of this, and I'm entitled to all freedoms at all times.
Yeah.
But actually, really, we've
got to work together. Freedoms.
Work together to minimize our freedoms.
Exactly.
We need to collaborate all together
to minimize our freedoms. But just as we have many, many, many times in the past, it's not like we haven't done this before. Like societies all throughout history tighten and loosen rules depending on the circumstances of the time. And so there's this illusion, a lot of people, there's a lot of people who are worried about their freedom who just don't really actually know how society works, and we're governed by this force that sort of keeps us together for the sake of the civilization, all right? And if the system eventually has any weaknesses, then the whole civilization will fall down, like the Romans eventually collapsed and the Greeks eventually collapsed and all that, because there was, errors in the system that over hundreds of years became, lethal, right? Okay, so if we all work together, then the system thrives. Yeah.
Yep.
And a united population has the power to then to decide, right, if the civilization we create is going to be utopian or dystopian. It depends on the people building it. But either way, the system itself can be a good thing for the whole society, and for the whole civilization.
Well, also the other thing is, it's like my freedoms. Everyone's fucking on about the freedoms. And it's like, yeah, cool, the freedoms. Yeah, love freedom. Everyone loves freedom. Let's not get it twisted. Freedom's good.
Yeah.
The ability to have choice is nice. But on the other hand, the person or the people reducing your freedoms is the same people that will keep you alive when you go to hospital. And it's the same. It's the same people that will, give you money to put food on your plate when you have none. These are the limitations that we have when we sign up for a certain government or a certain style of government, or even a certain place that we live, right? We live in a certain country. Okay, so the restrictions on our freedoms are relative to the place we live. If we don't fucking like it, we can get the fuck out and live in a different society. That is an option that is available to some people. But at a certain time, it's like, yeah, we've got some restrictions. They're not big restrictions.
They're responsibilities.
We're not living in China, right?
Shout out to all our Chinese listeners.
I love China, but we're not living there.
I've never been, but I'd like to go.
There's many more restrictions, right, than we have. And yet for us, it's, okay, no, we can't do masks. We can't do vaccinations. We can't do it. It's our freedoms.
It's our freedoms. Well, that's the thing. We don't have freedoms. We don't have rights. What we have, and I am borrowing a little bit heavily from George Carlin here, but what we have is not rights. What we have is privileges, because they can be taken away from us. So I currently have the privilege of going to the supermarket whenever I want and choosing my career, and within the confines of my Western liberal laws, loving whoever I want and these types of things. But if I break any of those rules, what happens? I go to jail. What's jail? That's my rights being taken away from me. They're not rights. Rights can't be taken away. They're privileges. These are privileges that we get given. Okay, privileges that we haven't lost yet. That's what I'd call those.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to have some restrictions on my freedoms. I'm happy to have some of my privileges taken away. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we are part of an industry which is shut down currently.
Well, it's true.
We can't actually really, unless we shoot within our bubble, which we will be doing, we can't do shit. We can't get together and do the thing that I love most, the thing that I put as my favorite thing to do in the world, which is make movies and to direct films and have a larger group of people than one or two people, but a whole team come together and create something. That's literally what I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life to doing. We can't fucking do it.
I know. Do you blame Jacinda for that?
No.
Well, why not? It's Jacinda's fault, isn't it?
Some of my freedoms have been reduced to the point where the singular thing that I have associated with my life up until this point is not an option for me.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Because that's the thing. This system contracts and expands the restrictions depending on the circumstances. And you go, oh, that doesn't sound right, Harley. It is right. Look at history. Look at World War II. They tightened, every country involved with World War II tightened up everything. A lot of your rights were taken away. A lot of your earnings were taken away. Things that you had to work for in industries that you had never worked in before, stuff like that. We tighten up the restrictions as we go. And the civilization that can adapt the most is the one that survives and thrives, or ones that survive and thrive. So, look, I mean, it's my opinion that we make the best goddamn system we can, right? We make a huge, all-empowering system that controls every aspect of our lives. But make it a positive one that works for humanity. And what I mean by that is we just live just like we've been living in lockdown, right? Except for we have money and we're allowed to go out. So basically, we all have leisure time and we can pursue our own creative endeavors and our own passions, whether that's raising a family, whether that's education, whether that's owning a business and working it. You can still have a business. You can still work if you want to. Nobody's stopping you, but everybody has enough to eat. The system organizes everything. Everybody has enough to eat and the robots do the work. Easy. AI. It's fucking paradise. It's utopia. Let's make it happen, people. We've almost got the technology. We just don't have the political will because there's too many people that don't dare believe that it's possible. It is possible. We can do it. We can make the AI and the robots do the work.
So Daniela on the live stream says that it's very similar. She's just watched Contagion, and this is from 2011, and the script was very similar to COVID-19 situation, even with the bat being the source of the virus.
Well, interestingly, there seems to be some momentum gathering. Shout out to Daniela, by the way. There seems to be some interesting momentum growing around this idea that it was actually a lab leak.
Yes.
Now, a lab leak sounds ominous, as in you go like, well, the Chinese deliberately leaked it into they weaponized it and leaked it into the population for some reason. But more realistically, what it is there's a plant for a lab for checking this shit in Wuhan, and it's close to the wet market, which is what everybody originally thought is where it came from the actual wet market itself. But it is also extremely possible that one of the researchers in Wuhan could have caught it from a bat, but could have caught it as part of the research and then gone out to the wet market.
Well, I think the guy that first reported it as a issue, as a problem, was some doctor who died of it.
Yeah,
well.
I remember hearing about him.
I know that from the Netflix documentary on COVID I watched.
Right, yeah.
The maybe perhaps not super accurate Netflix documentary that I watched.
Yeah.
We'll never know because this man died of COVID-19.
The good thing about COVID-19 is it's taken away my anxiety about climate change.
Well,
you can only worry about one thing at a time.
It's true. I mean, it hasn't for me because they had a big there was a big discussion about how none of the countries was adhering to any of the things they said they would do.
Right, yeah.
And this is, I believe there's another summit or sort of gathering happening at the moment discussing it. And, that's a big worry. Climate change is a real big worry because we're now seeing it. We're seeing the effects of it.
Yeah.
We're seeing it in all these extreme weather events, which is basically the tip of the iceberg, really, where there's all these extreme weather events which have never, it's the hottest day that it's ever been in this particular country at this particular time on record ever. There's this drought that normally goes for a week, has lasted for a month.
The oceans are acid.
These fires, which we normally get under control within a few days, have been raging out of control, forever, and we can see it over on our skyline here in New Zealand.
The world is literally burning. This is fine.
And all of this stuff, and then everyone goes, I don't notice it. And it's like, well...
Yeah, it's because you're not paying attention.
Well, it's more that you choose to ignore... You do notice it. You just choose to ignore those things within your own life that because you're not sort of dramatically affected as someone that maybe lost a house to bushfires or...
It's also possible that you're a cunt.
That is also very possible.
Or at least stupid. And if you're really unlucky, you might be a stupid cunt.
So we're getting some messages on live stream.
Yeah, we are.
Runs with Scissors says, I'm just going to move this a little bit closer. I'm going to move this closer.
Okay. Well, before we get there, let's start at the top here. Runs with scissors. Yeah, I say that is the top. Yeah, those who give up their freedom for security deserve to lose both.
But he spelled lose wrong.
Yeah, loose. Deserves to lose both. Lose is a tough word because it sounds like the O is long.
It sounds like you would put 2 O's.
It sounds like you'd put 2 O's, but it isn't. It's loose if you say it, if you spell it that way.
And he says that your communist rant was spoken like a true communist.
Yes. Well, look, I mean, it's true that some version of socialism is the answer because it's not rocket science, guys. We need to work together. So we've currently got a system that rewards the individual, or we can have a system that rewards the community. And we need to work together, That's how our civilization was made, from rules. It was from us coming together, working together for the greater good of the unit, of the team. And that's how we went from the Paleolithic to, early societies to the current society. And so we just need to continue working together, and we don't really have a choice. And every time we work together, we strengthen up the system a little bit more. So you've really got to be either a full-blown communist who wants the system to exist, or you've got to be a full-blown anarchist who just wants millions of people to die and we all be individuals roaming in the woods.
But we're individuals. We're all unique. And we get to do our own thing.
Mostly.
I mean, we may have been murdered by another group of roving anarchists from down the road.
Hungry roving anarchists who miss having fucking a 7-Eleven down the road. Hungry, roving, angry anarchists who got what they wished for. But yes, it's just common sense, right? You got to work together. People.
And
Makes sense.
Richard says that we do need to, but we aren't in it together because people are out and about mixing unvaccinated. Look, I agree that, and like I think someone I read a Twitter post where they were like basically like, why are we covering the queues of Pacifica lining up to get KFC when we're not covering the groups of rich Pakeha people in Mission Bay milling about, on the beach with no masks,
We do complain about those people on social media, though, to be fair.
What?
The rich people. The rich people on
Well,
beaches.
some
We
people
still
do.
we still complain about them on social media.
But when we talk, I guess, about news coverage, there's a lot of news about the big queues for takeaways.
Yeah.
There's not a bunch of media covering these rich white cunts and fucking, in this rich area, acting like there is no, level 3. And I believe that's valid. Go get your KFC, man, if that makes you happy. As long as you're wearing a mask and following all the protocols, whatever.
Look, I agree, and I get it. I do like to take a contrarian opinion on the KFC thing. Like what I really think is that, well, I guess what I had hoped originally in the first lockdown was that this would be a great thing for climate change because COVID-19 would help us all work together to overcome a big thing together, just like we did with the fucking CFCs, is it? Whatever it was that was going up in the atmosphere. We worked together to get rid of the atmosphere hole.
Banned them all.
Yeah, right. And now
the hole in the ozone layer reduced.
Exactly, right? So I was like, cool, we're going to do the same with COVID, and then we'll do the same, then we'll tackle climate change. And so I kind of hoped that maybe, just maybe, after 4 weeks of, isolation, or 4 weeks of level 4 the first time, that maybe people would not rush out to demand the slaughter of chickens and other animals, like after these millions of animals got a reprieve of 4 weeks because there just simply wasn't demand from the consumer. The average Joe on the street who likes a burger wasn't buying a burger, so these animals were not getting murdered, right? And so I thought maybe after 4 weeks, perhaps people might go, hey, you know what? I've gone 4 weeks with no KFC. I'm saving money, I'm feeling thin, I'm feeling healthy, and no animals were murdered, and I don't actually, and my environmental impact has been greatly reduced. I might just keep it up. And then you see these guys, these fatties, lined up from one KFC to the next one, and then out onto the highway. So that was my opinion on that, anyway. But we are getting some feedback from Runs with Scissors on the live stream.
Yeah.
Actually, so Daniela says that we should have learned from the Spanish flu pandemic thousands of years ago, or 1,000 years ago. Now, the Spanish flu pandemic, we have learned a lot from it, and we are referencing it frequently. And a lot of the things learnt in the Spanish flu are being applied to COVID, I'm sure. It's all built on, the science that started back then. And also, it was in 1914. So it was 120, 115 years ago, 105 years ago, whatever the fuck it is.
Although the problem is with history that you don't live through is that you don't, it doesn't seem real. Like all these things happen to all these people, but not in your lifetime. So it's almost like it didn't exist to you. And therefore, so if there was anyone, and unfortunately there isn't really, but like if there was anyone that lived through the Spanish flu, if we'd all lived through the Spanish flu and then COVID came around, we'd probably be very, what's the word? Diligent in how we behaved because we'd lived through a similar event which took many of our, the people we cared about potentially. But because none of us did, it's just not a footnote in history, but a piece of history. It doesn't seem as if it connects to us. That was a bunch of other people in another time and, whatever. Runs with Scissors says, I do like this one. If you concentrated on making money with film instead of pushing lefty politics, you would do much better. Perhaps engage in capitalism. Yeah,
it's true. No, look, I wouldn't really say that having a intellectual conversation about the left and right and the pandemic and all the rest of it is really pushing lefty politics. We're just sharing our
we are
sensible,
left-leaning,
of course, but we've just got sensible opinions, sensible, semi-educated opinions. So it's not really pushing any lefty politics, although you should all vote left. Vote for the Greens.
I did actually have a very lefty idea for a short film recently, which does is as much pushing an agenda as there would ever be. But I don't actually think any of the things we've actually made have no
political stuff.
Agenda.
No,
they have no agenda really whatsoever. Just gotta
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's true. We don't. But that does actually support something else. So as much as I can see that Runs with Scissors is slightly offended by all this because he's now talking about Black Lives Matter and Antifa saying they aren't violent, ? Lol, as if Antifa and Black Lives Matter are really violent, as if Antifa and Black Lives Matter are a united force, even as in both of them are individual entities, when really in reality Black Lives Matter is a bunch of individuals who all agree that Black Lives Matter, and it can be you and it can be me and it can be anybody else, but we don't work together as a team. And then Antifa is the same thing. It's anti-fascist. I'm anti-fascist for sure. I don't identify as Antifa though, and so this guy needs to get off the Kool-Aid, the Fox News Kool-Aid. But he is correct that if so he says here that if we concentrated on making money with film instead of talking about this shit. Now, I do have some feedback here from our episode last week, which says
something about that.
Well, I've lost my notes. Here we go. Here it is. So this was a comment which kind of reinforces what Runs with Scissors is saying here. So thank you for the intellectual discourse, Runs with Scissors. On YouTube, Batine Acid, shout out to Batine Acid, who's listened a few times, says the appearance on the Dr. Bad film show was actually an interesting discussion. Cool, fair enough, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Where's the rest of this?
Perhaps you guys should stick to what you know best, getting a low-budget project off the ground.
Yeah, right.
Focus is what this podcast needs. Just an idea. Now, look, I wasn't sure if I should have put that in the troll hole, our favorite segment. But I was like, no, look, it's fair. That's fair. Look, the show does require some focus. It's very broad. It's a very loose show.
Isn't he more like stop talking about this shit and just go back to your zombie hunting?
No, I think he's more saying that we can talk about an expertise we have, which is creating
Yeah, exactly.
films.
Exactly. He's like, you're not qualified to talk about.
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
You're not
to-
qualified
yeah,
to have any
And you're not
convers-
comedians. You guys are not funny.
And you just fucking stick to making dumb
Just
films, you fucking
yeah,
dummies.
stick to what you know. Making low budget films. Now, to this, I would reply, dear Bettine Acid, that you can't really judge last week's show. You've got to go back. You've got to listen to this this podcast, 217 episodes of it. Start at the beginning, please. Hit thumbs up on your way through. And you've got to understand that we don't really have anything. We didn't have anything to talk about last week because we've been in freaking lockdown forever. So we don't even have any low budget productions that we're currently really making, apart from little things here, which we are talking about.
Our
You can't.
rights have been taken away from us.
They have.
We can't make any movies. We just mentioned that.
We did. So what are we going to
else
talk
are we gonna
about here?
do?
Exactly. So and believe you me, we do talk about it. I told you guys about my audition that I shot in the backyard. I told you guys that we've been filming some little bits and bobs in here, and we have spoken about our upcoming productions that are likely to happen soon in our bubble. But we can't talk the whole time about it. Sometimes we've got to delve into dicks and left-wing politics. You know, we've got to fill the show up. It's 3 hours long.
We've got to fill the void with dicks and left-wing politics.
Yeah, that would be another good title for the show, Dicks and Left-Wing Politics. Or maybe just Dicks and Politics to shorten it up.
Great Pumpkin in New Zealand said, George Carlin quote, I heard mentioned today, never underestimate the power of stupid people in large groups.
Yep, another good quote from George Carlin, which I often steal and pass off as my own.
Of course.
Yeah.
I do sometimes see...
Sucks when people catch you doing that. They go, oh, you like George Carlin too? You go, no.
You go,
Who? Never heard of him.
I thought of that.
What do you mean? People in big groups are dumb.
I made that observation myself. Yeah, well, I guess, switching gears a little bit.
Yeah.
It has just been announced that Army of the Dead, which we did speak
talking about films. So we're now going to take the advice of Running with Scissors and Bettine Acid. This is what we do on the show. We indulge our I don't want to say haters because you're welcome to the show. We love a conflicting view. Our detractors, maybe.
I don't
Critics.
know if I love a conflicting view.
Well, I don't love it, but I want them to listen. I want to hear them. Look, I do want to hear them. My Facebook feed, I used to actively avoid having an echo chamber. I used to say, look, screw it. I'm friends with some right-wing nut jobs on Facebook, but I'm going to hear what they got to say, obviously. I'm not going to, shut them out like a small-minded fool and, not even hear out the other side.
You hear the discourse.
But eventually, I was like, these arguments are so infuriating and stupid. I was like, they're so selfish, self-centered, and dumb. I was like, honestly, this is so frustrating for me because I can see this uneducated moron's dumb opinion and it makes me want to reply and say, hey, here's the reason why you're wrong, and then give a fucking 5-page well-written essay. But, you just end up wasting too much time trying to educate these fools. So
you get caught. You get caught.
I created myself the ultimate echo chamber in the end. During COVID last year, I just unfollowed. I'm still friends with them, but I don't see their posts. All of the people...
This is the only way that Runs with Scissors can contact you now.
The anti-vaxxers and all that.
YouTube.
Yeah. I don't know who. Shout out to Runs with Scissors.
Well, you definitely
Runs with Scissors does tune in regularly.
Yeah.
We can disagree politically.
So
we should call this the Gaslight Podcast, he says. But I keep forgetting what gaslighting is.
That's basically when you sort of
make them say that they're stupid, make them feel stupid.
Yeah, and make them think that they're the
bad
problem.
guy.
And that everything that they've done is wrong when really it's you.
Okay.
That's
okay, but what if they're actually wrong and you tell a person and point out that they're wrong and they go, "This is gaslighting," and it's like, no, it's not gaslighting. I'm telling you why you're wrong.
There's actually there is a very problematic thing on the internet with this kind of feedback of when you want to just have an argument, you want to have a discussion, and you want to argue your points of view, they go, oh, you're gaslighting me. I said, no, this is what philosophers have done since the beginning of, not the beginning of time, but whenever philosophers started philosophizing, right? Yeah. They had arguments and
the beginning of time
around back and forth over ideas.
Ever since the cognitive revolution
and
the Paleolithic.
But now
we sat around the fire.
This opinion that I'm, putting on you is gaslighting, and that is not what gaslighting is. But yeah, so anyway, Army of the Dead is getting a prequel and a sequel, which no one fucking ever asked for. But it's happening. And it's the prequel will premiere on October 29th, so they fucking pumped that out in double quick time because the movie only came out earlier
What's the
this
movie?
year. Army of the Dead. It's the one with Batista. It's the one you didn't watch, the Snyder one. The worst zombie film of all time. Maybe not the worst, but definitely a really bad zombie film. So, you know, we have talked about the Army of the Dead a little bit on the podcast before, and we concluded that it was fucking horrible, or I did, because Harley didn't actually watch it. But the more that I thought about it, the worse it got. And right-wing Richard on the podcast and I have had some discussions about it. And in fact, he did a parody about it as well for me, which was great. But there was so many issues with the Army of the Dead. And now it's like, hey guys, here's a prequel. And it's like, did anyone after watching Army of the Dead go, fuck, I'd love to see more of this universe. I'd love to hear a bit more about these fucking characters with absolutely, you know, these backstories that you absolutely did not care or give a flying fuck about in any respect. I'd love to dive deeper into that backstory. Well, that's what we're doing, because the prequel will premiere on October 29th, and it takes place during the beginning stages of the zombie outbreak seen in Zack Snyder's original zombie heist film, and in it we're introduced to Ludwig Dieter, who was the comedic, he's a safecracker hired by a mysterious woman to pull off a heist. He was the comedic relief in Army of the Dead. He was not particularly comedic, and there was no relief. Anyway, they're making a whole fucking film about him now. This is where Netflix goes way off the rails.
Is it? And it's all set in zombie.
Yeah, and it's all set in the Snyder zombieverse.
Well, look, mate, this is still a good thing for us. To quote Warren Buffett, sometimes you don't need to catch the right carriage. You just got to be on the right train, right? And we're on the zombie train. So if Snyder is making zombies popular and they're getting on Netflix and millions of people are watching them, that's still good for I Survived a Zombie Holocaust. You know, we don't want to be yesterday's news. We want to be a hot topic. You know, this could be a resurgence of the World War Z, Zombieland
but you have to
times.
You have to start with something that's good. And I feel like Netflix has shat out something that is terrible. And they know in their heart of hearts it's terrible. But they've sort of committed. It was almost like, DC kind of backed out of it. But they were like, when it was like Paramount or someone were like, they were going to do a monsters universe with like Frankenstein and a new monster squad with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and the Mummy and all this shit. And it would start off with Tom Cruise as the Mummy, and then we were going to have all these spin-offs. And that's exactly what's happened here. But whereas Paramount or Universal or whoever owned those rights, after releasing the Mummy, were like, you know what? This sucks balls and is a terrible idea. And we've got to bail out right now and not do this dark universe thing. Rightfully, they just cut it. Whereas Netflix were like, in for a penny, in for a pound. You got one shitty zombie film, let's make like a whole fucking 3 or 4, whatever. And I'm really disappointed that that's happening.
Look, I'm not. I think it's good that it's within the zombie sphere. You know, I want big filmmakers to be making big zombie stuff, because that's good for me as the star of a zombie film. And it's good for films that I like. You know, I mean, you know,
if they leave
it
a bad
ebbs and
taste
flows
in your mouth, though.
Yeah, it might do more damage than good.
Exactly.
But you're almost saying, like, it'll probably be shit, so you shouldn't even try.
No, I'm saying it's already been shit.
So you shouldn't try again.
So you shouldn't. You shouldn't you shouldn't build like you got a big pile of shit, right?
Yeah.
You shouldn't try and put something on top of the shit, right, to cover up the first layer of shit.
Yeah.
Right? You should just clean the shit away.
Yeah,
And
start
forget
again.
all about it.
And just start again.
With a clean,
But
just a nice empty plate.
Okay, but the thing is that shit is subjective, right?
Yeah.
So was it financially successful?
Well, that's the thing. Netflix never releases any of their. Sometimes, occasionally, they'll say this was the most watched thing on Netflix this month.
Yeah.
Or these are our highest streaming things. Not saying, or they'll say something like very vague, like this film got over this many streams or something like that. There's all this kind of reporting which is very ambiguous of like, okay, so is that good? Is it bad? Is that do you make money? Does Netflix even make money off shit? Like, because what are they selling? They're not selling ads, right? It's only subscriptions that they're making money off. Or are they making money off, talking about Big Brother, a bunch of other details that they sell that we don't know about, like so essentially they're selling the information that, Guy watches too many the viewing habits of Guy Pigden. Is that what they're selling? That it's sort of like not really talked about. Is that their sort of financial model now, is the sort of the trends of their viewers? We don't really know because Netflix doesn't say anything, but so we can't, only Netflix decide whether or not something's good. But this has to have been put into production like well before that the Army of the Dead was finished, right? Because it's coming out, sort of 6 months later or even less. So they were already committed before Army of the Dead came out. It was terrible. So we can't really say whether it was, or the only people that know if it was financially successful is Netflix. But man, I can't imagine anyone feeling that way about that fucking film.
But if it was financially successful,
sure,
and if shit is subjective, then unfortunately all you have is an opinion, and they've got the proof, which is a successful franchise that a lot of people evidently do enjoy. Now look, don't get me wrong, I there's lots of shit stuff out there that I think people should stop making. Marvel films, I'm looking in your direction, but like zombies, all right, let's keep the genre alive. I'm all for it. We could have a resurgence. We could have a revival, a zombie revival. It could be going back to the Shaun of the Dead, World War Z, Zombieland, and Walking Dead days when everything was zombies. And that song "Every Day I'm Shuffling" had a zombie music video. All of that stuff. We could go back to that, and that could make me eventually a big cult movie star, which I like to hold on to that hope.
Another thing that they're winding down, I think that we're up to the last season of The Walking Dead now. They're finally wrapping it up after 10 seasons.
Well, that is good because I could barely get through that show. The first season I watched and I was like, it's pretty average. Season 2, I gave it like a good go, and then I think the beginning of season 3, I was like, this is dumb. This is just so shit. It's so melodramatic. The problem was the writing. It was like if they had just been actual real-life survivors of a zombie apocalypse behaving in the ways that zombie apocalypse survivors would, which is cutting fucking throats, and being ruthless. If they'd done Game of Thrones...
There's quite a lot of that.
Yeah, but not... When I was watching, it was all like okay, when the first red flag for me, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before, I'm pretty sure it was season 1, it could have been season 2, was there's a woman who gets... there's 2 sisters. One of the sisters gets, I'm pretty sure it happens in a mall, gets bitten by a zombie. And then for whatever reason, the sister brings back her infected sister back to the camp. And they're in the camp, it's by a lake, I remember. And they're in a camper van parked by the lake. And they're like, look, we've got to kill her, she's infected, right? Now... And then she's like, no, we're not going to kill her. And they keep her alive for a while, blah, blah, blah. And then eventually she grabs somebody's gun or grabs a gun and pulls it out on a bunch of people and says, no, you're not going to kill my sister. Because they're like, we're going to kill this zombie, obviously, before she becomes a zombie. And she then gets out a gun and then defends her zombie sister before her zombie sister has turned. And then the zombie sister turns and then she uses the gun herself to kill her own sister. But she waits until she turns before she does it. And I was like, this is so needlessly dramatic. In the real world, in this existence that we're all actually in, if there was actually a zombie apocalypse, I mean, we cut throats all the time as it is. Without a zombie apocalypse, she would be dead instantly. They wouldn't take her back to the camp. She would never be taken back to the camp. And if the sister had a problem with that, she'd be fucking dead too, right? And then it was just so needlessly dramatic. Oh, I'm going to shoot her myself. Why? Why would you wait for her to turn into a zombie and then shoot her? Just fucking shoot her. Put her out of her misery. Like, it was so stupid. And from then on, I was like, this is dumb. And then I basically just got less and less and less. There was just more and more shit like that. I was like, I literally can't watch this.
Season 3 to season 6, bloody good TV. Bloody good zombie stuff. The first couple of seasons and the last couple of seasons, that's where I stand on it. But what was interesting is they were one of the few... and I was sort of planning on talking about this in another thing, but they're one of the few, or they were one of the few before COVID, they were one of the few TV shows to shoot on film. So they still shot on film.
Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Well, good for them. I mean, it's a huge waste of money, but it's a great marketing gimmick.
Well, they changed, allegedly, because with COVID, that essentially there's a lot more handling involved and swapping out film all the time. So they changed to a digital thing, and they said that
they're like, wow, we've saved millions.
They've taken
this is so much easier.
They've taken steps in post-production to essentially hopefully simulate the same look. So if you're a Walking Dead fan, just keep those eagle eyes out. Does it look any different? Because I bet it does.
They're only going to notice if somebody points it out.
I just pointed it out.
You did. Yeah, you just ruined it for everybody. Yeah.
Well, I always really enjoyed the look of it with the film, and I think that it didn't give it.
I think, like, I'm going to jump in right and say that I think that you liked it because you knew it was film.
Well, no, I didn't know it was film. So what happened is, the way that I did a deep dive on this is I was like, fuck, The Walking Dead looks so much different to all the other shows. Why? Why does it look so much different? I need to know what's going on here. And then it's like, oh yeah, they shoot on film. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the film grain. I'm looking at the way that the light hits people in a different way to these overly sensitive digital sensors, and they're lighting it in a different way. It's done in a different style, and we're seeing that sort of tangible look of what film does. And I didn't understand what that was because I very rarely see any stuff that's on film anymore. And now I'm seeing it. So I definitely think you can notice a difference, but only if you're obviously a fucking nerd. If you're just
not our listeners. Our listeners are cool dudes
if you're just a
and lady dudes and dudettes.
If you're just a regular person, you don't even give a shit about what's filmed on what or why things look different. You're literally just looking at it from the story perspective and whether it engages you. But I do feel like, as with all things, filmmaking is about layers, and you can add or remove layers that affect people subconsciously, and that's what shooting on film would ultimately do, or have the potential to do. So, yeah. Who will notice the difference? Well, I don't know, because also we don't know how well they've managed to match the new digital Walking Dead Season 10 with all the past work, because there's a lot of things you can do in post-production to kind of dirty up your image. So it'll be just interesting to see.
I have pitched an idea to you, Guy, and I'm going to pitch it to you again.
Oh, shit. I hope I don't remember it as you start talking. I hope I only remember it at the end, or this is going to be boring.
No. What a horrible friend. Nothing nice to say, right? We're trying to be creative partners here, but if I suggest anything creative...
No, I said no.
Not allowed.
If I'm familiar with the idea, and you explain it again to me, that obviously that's not very interesting.
But that's bullshit, because we do, you've got to start an idea and then it doesn't happen straight away, but then you bring it back up and you go, okay, it might actually happen, All of your best ideas are mine. They're all in your movies. They're all in your bloody movies. So anyway, the idea I had, and it's related to, the quality of the color grade and being able to change the look of productions and dirty up your lighting and your camera and all of that type of thing. And what it is you need to do for the Savage Filmmaker YouTube channel a tutorial about how to dirty up your image and, degrade your footage and these types of things. And what you do is you do the ring. And The Ring, of course, the Japanese film about a VHS quality, a VHS that goes around, and if you watch the VHS, you die within 7 days. So you could do a tutorial about how to do that, and you could shoot it in our backyard because we have a fire pit that looks exactly like a well, and it's got trees and stuff behind it as well. So you could do a dirty horror type, somebody coming out of the well with their hair hanging over their face and crawling along the garden. Idea for the Savage Filmmaker YouTube channel.
It's not a bad idea.
I've never had a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea. I am actually doing something similar, but with no ring involved.
Let's get the ring involved. Get your ring out.
Yeah, going in a different direction. But
I'll do that next year.
But certainly that could come into effect at some point. The ring is an interesting thing where that was really
like one of these.
Oh, I suppose I have one more.
He's going to have one of these. Guy's going to drink one more of these glacial hard seltzers, peach and passion with collagen and glacial water. So if you want to look younger, you want to plump up your skin, make sure you drink these because they've literally got collagen in them. We're drinking collagen, and they're 7% alcohol.
They're actually not bad.
No,
it just tastes like a peach tea.
Yeah, peach tea with 7% alcohol.
Not bad.
Not bad. Were you saying something?
Oh, well, I was just saying it was interesting. The Ring was a real phenomenon there for a while.
It's a great movie. That's why they remade it with not Sarah Michelle Gellar. That's The Grudge.
That's The Grudge, yeah. But they did remake it.
I preferred, this is just my personal taste, I preferred the American version of The Ring to the Japanese version of The Ring, but the Japanese version of The Grudge was better than the American version of The Grudge.
Yeah, so I've sort of flipped that, I think. I'd say I definitely enjoyed the American version of The Grudge more than the Japanese version of The Grudge. But the Japanese version of The Ring I thought I enjoyed more. It's quite interesting
Sarah
because
Michelle
they were
Gellar.
like... the Grudge one specifically, I believe, was remade by the director of The Grudge. So he essentially just made his film twice, which is, but in English, which is to me is always like a fascinating idea. Was essentially Hollywood comes to you, go, look, you've made this really original, unique concept, this brilliant thing, and we want you to copy it exactly, but use English actors. How do you feel about that? And they go, sounds good. Let's sign me up for that. Let me do it. Let me redo this almost shot for shot, beat for beat, the same. So you just want the same thing, but they speak in English. Yep, same thing. Same scares. Yep, same scares. Same exact. Yep, everything the same. Don't change a single thing, but we want it in English.
We should do this with I Survived the Zombie Holocaust. We go to Japan or somewhere like that, and we just make the Japanese version. It's shot for shot. No new shot lists. No nothing. It's half the work. It's half the work. You just show up, you just do it again in a different language. Yeah. And that's also your marketing gimmick.
See, to me, I'm all for doing reshoots because you refine and make things better. The idea of replicating, they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to innovate or do anything different because they love that thing that you did. And they want that. They don't want you go, oh, what if we did some extra stuff here or that? They're like, no, we want this, but we need to sell it to our audience who doesn't like subtitles. So to me, I couldn't imagine anything worse than doing a beat for beat, shot for shot remake of something.
It would probably still be slightly improved. You would still
it would be nice to have
apply some lessons.
It'd be nice to have, obviously, the additional resources that would come with that. Because then, it's not difficult to do it. It's no longer difficult to do it because you have everything there. You have the crew, the elements and everything that you can just go shot for shot and it not be like, shit, we need 1,000